Ladies and gentlemen, let's for Gaming video. Let us discuss a recent comments made by Boyd Multerer. I'm hoping that's how you pronounce his second name. Anyway, he is the Xbox Director of Development, and he believes, quite simply put, that the Xbox One games will be more likely to achieve anyway 1080p as time goes by, and he believes that it's going to be more a question of developers suiting and tweaking the titles to better utilize the ESRAM and the GPU. Now, in case I do forget to link this is from issue 110 of OXM, but he said, and I quote, "I fully expected that to happen. The graphics processing units are really complicated beasts this time around. The hardware is basically baked, and when it comes next is people discovering a better software techniques to take advantage of it, especially in ordering of the data so it flows through all of the caches correctly. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there." And regarding the ESRAM, he said, and I quote, "This is where tuning your datasets become important. Once these engines, the engines developers like Frostbite and those guys, they really wrap their heads around this particular GPU architecture, then all of the titles coming out of that studio will really take advantage of it and get better." He also believes that we can look forward to fairly large improvements in GPU output as people really tune these datasets to how to maximize the use of their GPUs. Although he's very keen to point out that resolution isn't the most important aspect of graphics. He said it's part of it. Learning how to tune part of it is, I think, a very legitimate question of the quality of pixels versus the number of pixels, and of course both are interesting. End quote. It was fairly short, as I said. It's an excerpt from issue 110 of OXM. I'm assuming that's just the UK, but still. So what are my thoughts on this? Well, I've been pretty vocal. Here's the thing. I honestly believe that Microsoft should stop drawing attention to the performance difference of the consoles, because honestly, it just doesn't do them any favors. The problem is when he states that, the GPU is a lot more complicated this time around, they're complicated beasts. Well, here's the thing. The Xbox 360 wasn't super easy to work with. It was just a lot easier than the PS3. But the Xbox One is more complicated simply because it's less powerful in terms of raw GPU power, as well as ESRAM, which of course is the major cause of contention for developers. And the part where he mentions datasets, in fact he mentioned datasets a couple of times, is quite important because it demonstrates just how important it is for developers to utilize the very limited amount of memory on the ESRAM, and developers have already started to speak out regarding the performance issues on the ESRAM. I mean, for example, even Respawn Interactive have spoken out that the ESRAM is pretty much how much ESRAM the ESRAM's causing issues because it's like how much do you use for certain things, such as, obviously if you've got larger render targets, if you're going to be using certain forms of anti-aliasing, all of these things increase the memory usage, and so you're starting to have to do tricks a lot of the time like texturing from DDR3, and then you have to be really careful with the memory management in that regard. Now, is this the most important part of the console war? No. I mean, I've mentioned several times before that I personally don't think that a console war is going to be won on the resolution or the performance of a console. Why? Because, well, there are so many consoles that were inferior technically to their, rivals. I mean, the PlayStation 2 was considerably worse than the Xbox or the GameCube. You can look at titles like Resident Evil 4. That's a great example. But I don't think that Microsoft should get into these discussions because all that happens, you're not going to really sway anyone that's technically minded. And for those who aren't technically minded, well, I would rather just see it, personally. And of course the console is going to improve over time, but so is the PS4. And here's the thing. Both consoles have a finite performance level. In other words, they don't have infinite bandwidth. They don't have infinite memory. Developers have already started to state that the PS4 and Xbox One's memory which is about 5 gigabytes available, by the way, out of the 8, about 5. You know, it's limited compared to what the artists really want to do. They could quickly start filling this up. Even the guys who've developed the Havoc engine have stated this. So yes, there are going to have to be concessions made on the PlayStation 4 as well. Infamous Second Son, great, running at 1080p, but who knows if the next Infamous, if they are going to do another Infamous, but I'm assuming they will, since it's a pretty big cash cow for them. So let's assume Infamous the Third Son, or whatever the hell it ends up being called, it might not be running at 1080p natively, it might end up running at 900p. And the same thing, of course, for other titles on Xbox One, because generally speaking, as we all know, they reduce the performance, or should I say they reduce the resolution to improve the performance so they can do other visual tricks. So I think this is just an example where developers shouldn't really, or should I say developers of the Xbox shouldn't really focus on pulling people's attention to this whole resolution gate issue. Anyway, I will catch you guys later. See you soon. Take care, and bye for now.